So I suppose the first thing would be for each of you, just if you could give a 30-second sort of history of your small group that you've participated in, whether it's a current one, whether it's something in the past, but just a small little synopsis of small group experience.
We were moved back to Illinois after having been in Ohio, and we rejoined Good Shepherd when we came back, and we came into a group of small groups that one of them invited us to join. Both Linda and I joined, and it was a wonderful time and a wonderful opportunity to figure out what was going on in the congregation since we'd left.
Nice.
Yeah, I was part of a small group starting in college, so this goes back a long time, and that group was both a musical group. We would go, it was called an outreach team, and we had our Bible study kind of get-together time, as well as preparing for service, worship, that sort of thing that we would bring out to the community. And I remember the main thing that I think for me as a young student at that time, which I think is key to all small groups, the question we started off with was, where are you at? And that's where we began, and the personal sharing, the developing of relationship, as well as a spiritual development by learning together, and then service as well.
I started my small group experience in high school, in the Christian education group when I was in high school, and very much spiritually oriented, led by adults who were interested in what teenagers had to say about themselves. So it was a positive experience at a time in my life where I didn't have a lot of positive experiences. And so I got from that small group can be a place where you can feel safe, you can allow yourself to talk about things and listen to other people. And I've been involved in groups one way or another really ever since. I'm a professional group leader. I've got a men's group that I conduct once a week, and then I'm also involved with the men's group here, affiliated with Good Shepherd. So glad to be involved with those things.
So particularly because you've all experienced small groups, how is a small group system different from just joining some other group that you might be in? What is distinctive about a small group versus in a church setting versus other groups?
Well, the first thing is that it's much more intimate than we have, say, during the congregation, during normal weekly services. So, you know, in the formal setting, we proclaim our collective faith. But in the small group, we get to talk about our individual faith. And that, for me, is a really moving part of opportunity to express my faith and connect it with other people.
Yeah, I would say similarly in the church, I've been part of the women's spirituality group here, and that it was a place where you could allow for the conversations, bringing your own experience in the world as well as your faith and where that connected with you in a much more, like you say, intimate setting, and the opportunity for developing relationships goes deeper because of that smaller scope.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the important thing is that you're creating another small environment of trust that you have outside of your immediate family at home, and you may not have it anywhere else, and that's really important, and important to remember as you talk about what's going on in each other's lives and how you're reacting to different things outside the group and so forth. But I think that trust factor is probably something that's unique to a successful small group.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned trust. I was thinking about what are the elements that make a group effective and spiritually grounded. And trust and listening are the two things that come to my mind. And to me, those are the human expressions of God's love in our world.
So would you have any advice or things if someone was here and they were contemplating joining a small group or not joining a small group? What would you say to them to help them understand why it might be something they'd want to do?
I think my answer to that is you can't know what the outcome is going to be until you take the action. And so join, just jump in. And if it turns out to be awful, and it could, okay, you know, you haven't lost anything, except maybe a little bit of time and that the risk that it takes to show up for something. But that's what we do. That's what service is about. And you know, I think it's consistent with our faith that, you know, we participate in things. And then my experience has been as awkward as things might start out, it always turns out to be a positive return. You know, I get something positive that I can't get any other way by participating in a group.
Well, I think it's you can get a certain enlightenment from a group that you wouldn't necessarily expect, and about yourself, and certainly about how you react to things outside the group. But I think that's something that you should seek always, is a little bit of enlightenment. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my own personal difficulty sometimes getting to know people in a larger setting. And so for me, it oftentimes is easier when there's a smaller group that I somehow have the expectation to showing up and sharing in. And so if relationship is important and you want to feel more connected and find that sense of community with people, I think a small group is a good place to go.